Okay, guys, Road Warrior back here. I'm continuing on with my lure series as requested by a sub, and I've definitely wanted to cover crankbaits. I'm extremely good with crankbaits, and I'm not bragging, but I'm just wanting to share my knowledge here, so I was asked to do so. Uh, just kind of starting out here in the shop, you'll find a lot of these crankbaits are just really expensive. Uh, to be honest with you, I would focus on trying to do some of your challenges. Now, I don't know exactly which ones, but look for and try to get your X series crankbaits when you can. I've bought several of these. Now, some of just the game credit ones aren't too awful bad. You can start with those early on in the game, but I do encourage you to look through your challenges and figure out. Maybe somebody in the comment section could leave how to get the X series crankbaits. I did obtain. I'm doing just either my 30-day stays or the challenge in general, but just kind of moving on through here. I wouldn't spend too awful much money other than one lure I do recommend in here. I think you guys have seen me before say this, but this one's expensive. I wouldn't get it, early on in the game if you don't have too much. But this crankbait here is one of my favorites as far as here in the shop. Also, kind of moving on here to lures. If you ever see minnows on a fish species where it says it likes minnows, that's actually the deep runners. Now, there's two different kinds as well as there's hunch runners. These things are probably my least favorite out of any of the crankbait series or the minnows. The deep runners themselves, I think, are extraordinary. One key note, too, to look on these things, if it says floating or it says sinking. For example, if you come all the way over here, I'll show you this in the upcoming clips. This is actually sinking, so I'll show you a difference of what, other than one of them floats, one of them sinks. But you can feel free to look through here. By far, for me, my favorite runner is the Deep Runner 8.0 or the 6.0s or the 4.0s. They're all good. I don't really like the Hunch runners as much. I think a lot of you probably will find the same thing, but I do have a use for some of them, and I will show you how in the upcoming clips. But just kind of going over those to help you guys out here. Also, carrying on kind of with the setup that I'm using now, this, you guys will see me use this a lot on stream. This is basically just the Zeus 8'10". Again, I've said before on setups and that sort of thing where I've covered spinning rods and whatnot in the game, but this is a great rod just because you can put different reels on it and still, max it out depending on the application, as well as keep that in consideration whether what retrieve you're wanting to use, what depth you're trying to work your crankbaits at. In other words, this is so versatile that you can put various things on for different applications. And you kind of see when I'm farming here in a little bit, I'll just kind of show you that, what I'm doing there. An example, if you're wanting to use, a crankbait and keep it near the surface, you're better off with a faster speed. If you're wanting to do a traditional crank where you're just reeling it in and not putting any action on it, you're probably better off with a thunder spin or a slower one like a Kraken, that sort of thing. In other words, if you're just cranking it in, just doing a straight retrieve, you don't want to use one of these. This is more if you're looking for movement in the water column. Okay, guys, starting here with this a shallow crankbait. Again, I'm going to go through several different retrieves. The most obvious one is, you're just going to reel it in. And if you do like reeling it in, maybe change your speeds up every once in a while. Or if you don't want to change your speeds, from speed 1 to speed 2, that sort of thing. Just reel and, occasionally pop it with your rod tip or twitch it. You'll notice here that it doesn't show a stop and go or a twitch or that sort of thing on crankbaits. I think that developers wanted you to kind of use your own creativity here. As you can see, I'm not getting any bites. This is the most boring way for me to do it. However, you just start popping your rod tip every once in a while, or at least change your speeds or something. I'm not saying that they won't bite. I just found in the game, if you found those lulls or those spots where you're just not catching anything, switch it up and do something different. Now, again here, showing my reel and float or stop and go. Simply keep your rod tip down. You can change speeds. As you can see, I'm changing speeds there. Just trying to initiate a bite. Again, fishing for bass in real life, not professionally, but just an avid bass fisherman who enjoys using crankbaits. Again, my hat's off to Fishing Plant. They've done an extraordinary job, I think, on crankbaits in particular. If you go around, and try to use your creativity, so to speak. There, I'm just speed 2. Reel and float or stop and go, however you want to phrase it. Now that's just with your rod tip down. So if you're more comfortable doing that than just setting the hook, for me in particular, as you can see on this next clip, I've actually got my rod tip up. Same thing in real life, if you got your rod tip up, you're more apt to set the hook. Same thing here in the game. Now whether you want to do speed 1 or speed 2, and that is actually just a generic crankbait there out of the shop. that you can get. Now again, those crankbaits can be expensive. I do strongly suggest that you kind of look around the shop. Start with the game credit ones first. Again, I think by far out a lot of the X series lures, the crankbaits are definitely worth the effort as far as doing some of your missions, challenges, 30-day stays, that sort of thing. Again, anybody in the comments section could leave some of those. I can't remember. I want to say predator, carp, X amount, or roach. Catch an X amount of roach where you get some of the X series crankbaits in upcoming clips. This here is a Hunch runner. If you notice there, what I was doing was I'm basically this is a sinking. That's a difference. This is a sinking lure, and so instead of it floating, I'm rising it up, letting it sink, rising it up, letting it sink. The opposite of a buoyant or a floating crankbait, guys. See, I'm raising that, letting it sink, raising it, letting it sink. I think you guys get the idea there. Again, just holding the rod tip up. Again, you can keep your rod tip down if you want on you. Now, here's a Hunch runner. This is a buoyant or a floating Hunch runner, similar to a crankbait. Now, these here, in my opinion, I don't really like them in the game. There might be an application somewhere or a fish that they might be particularly good for. They're okay, I would say. I think they came out for the Maroon River. There's just better options for lures even there, glow crawl, swim bait, that sort of thing. I didn't really like them on catfish as much, but I'm just kind of illustrating here. Same kind of a thing. This one's sinking. The other one was buoyant. Again, I'm bouncing it off the bottom, seeing it hit it on the fall. So just thinking about that in reverse order. A floating lure should entice a bite on the rise. A sinking lure, or a sinking hunched runner in this case, should entice a bite on the fall. Now again, just kind of showing you here with a deep runner. It's a floating, aka minnow, if you look on the fish species again in the game. Sharks, that sort of thing. Even, I want to say now, perch. If you see where it says minnows, that's what they're meaning by minnows. It's the deep runners. In the event that you did not know that, there's a trophy Goliath. And now moving on here again on catfish, same retrieve, guys. I'm keeping the rod tip up. Letting it just kind of stay right there in the strike zone. That's another key thing, is once you've determined the depth of whatever you're targeting, whether it's the midwater, near the surface, that sort of thing is definitely going to pay dividends. Also, pay attention to your sonar. I know sometimes the fishing throughout the Fishing Planet community here, we're always confused. Does the sonar work on our boats or not? I think they do kind of tell you the depth at least, where your fish are. So keep an eye on that when you're out. If you're fortunate enough to have a boat that has a sonar on. Again, this is just me demonstrating the same tactic with the Deep Runner 6.0s instead of the 8.0s here for a unique walleye at St. Croix. Okay, now moving on, same thing here. If you can get these X Series crankbaits, they're just, so much better than the average crankbait. And I'm not saying you can't make some of those crankbaits work. I just didn't want to recommend something out of the shop, somebody spend bait coins on it and not like it, other than the 30-foot 6.0 glow in the dark is a great crankbait. Again, same kind of a thing here. I'm keeping my rod tip down, just kind of showing you can do it both ways if you want. I am on speed 2 here. Again, pay attention to your reels. Play with these things. You might you need to figure out what you can control, what you can't. Does it need a faster presentation, slower presentation, that sort of thing. As I get the unique out there, again with the reel and float. Same thing here, as you notice. I'm just simply keeping the rod tip up, so again, not to keep beating that in the ground. I'm just wanted to show you this over and over so you can kind of get that muscle memory for yourself. And this is something you guys are going to have to practice here on the crankbaits. I know sometimes crankbaits are probably not the most popular. Most people probably just do the old boring retrieve where they're just cranking it in. Not saying that sometimes that's not the best way to do it. In the event you're not getting bites on a straight retrieve or a reel and twitch right here as I'm demonstrating, this will actually work. Now this there, if you can notice, I was not getting a bite. Okay, I'm bored with it. I'm going to raise my tip, and now I'm instantly going to go to my reel and float, and watch what happens. No action at all when I'm just, reeling it in straight, boom. Pretty much right out of the gates there. Again, that's I think Fishing Planet rewarded me for my creativity as well. Kind of the same thing in real life. You'll notice fish sometimes they like the erratic behavior. That's what's going to initiate strikes more times than not when you're lure fishing. Again, this is a hunched runner, a sinking hunch runner. This one here doesn't really have much movement, but as you can see, I'm being creative with it. Basically, keep my rod tip up on just a real slow, kind of a stop and go on 2 speed, knowing that this is going to work because I've Tested out a lot of these lures way back in the day. I always wanted to get me an X Series Hunch runner. Again, somebody's probably got this in their tackle boxes, won it in a comp, and probably never used it. I would encourage you to go around in your free time if you find some and practice this stuff, guys. Again, I just got the rod tip up, speed 2 there. I just feel I know I'm going to get a bite because I've played with these things before, some of the other ones in the shop even. But again, I'm just really slow, patient with it, knowing I'm in the strike zone. Again, I was looking at the radar there, or the sonar, and the other fish that I caught were on the bottom. But as you notice there, again, that was a special retrieve to get that done. Now, you can just try to reel that in. Most of the time for me, again, it's just seemed unsuccessful. So, again, keynotes, know the different types of lures. Basically, you're looking at a sinking or a floating, so that shouldn't be too confusing for you to understand. Since that one's on the bottom, I kind of wish it had a little more movement so I could get it up off the bottom, let it fall. As you notice, the 7.0 had that capability. However, this one, for whatever reason, it's just like pulling a Volkswagen across the bottom. But nonetheless, if you get a little creative with it, you can get some results out of it. Unique striped bass there off of a 4.0 triple runner sinking. Now, again, on the opposite end of the spectrum, here's a 13 arrows deep, and I'm doing the opposite here. Now, here's where I've actually put on a faster reel. I'm trying to work the upper surface here, and I'm going for a unique stillhead here at Cali. Pay close attention. I changed the 2-speed, and I'm trying to just do quick pops, keep it near the surface, so I'm knowing these things like the surface, and I know that they like these things. They like crankbaits too as well. So again, this is a nice unique stillhead right off of the surface here. Now again, this will work on asp, pike, muskie even, triera, pretty much you name it. Just kind of play around. There's other options. Obviously you could use a topper, but again, this is me demonstrating here off the bank with my deep runner. Again, now this time that shark's at the bottom. Next time it might be shallow. If you're not getting a bite with these things, that's a great thing about crankbaits in general. You can cover the whole water column. Pay attention to your depths on your crankbaits. Are they deep? Are they shallow? If you're throwing in 20 foot of water and you got a 6-foot deep crankbait, then you're limiting yourself only to the bottom or to the upper surface. As you can see there, I got that one working it near the top. And this ends up being a really gigantic fish. Anyway, I hope this helps you guys out. Remember, just in keynotes there, make sure that you're covering the whole water column. Don't limit yourself to either the bottom or the top unless you know that's where the fish are. Again, I hope this helps you guys out. And in the upcoming, I'll cover spinners and all the other things. But this should help a lot of you guys out. Take care, and we'll see you in the next one.